know, did he do the webinar yet? No, he didn't. We're just getting started. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're having a Halloween sale going on right now. Halloween's coming up soon. Oh, I have a funny story for everyone. So James is going to dress up as Buzz Lightyear for Halloween because he loves Buzz Lightyear. And Thomas is going to be Woody. For those who don't know, I have two sons. They're little. One's 1 and one's 3. Anyway, James loves his Buzz Lightyear outfit. It has a helmet and all this stuff. He's ready to go. He loves it. Yesterday, he was running around the park, stumbled and fell, and busted his mouth on a stone elephant. Like a statue of an elephant. It's a sprinkler. It shoots water. It's concrete. One of his teeth went through his lip. All the way through his lip. He had to go to the hospital, get stitches. He was bleeding all over the place. And now he's going to be Buzz Lightyear, but a zombie also because his lip is all messed up. It's like this big, you know? Poor guy. He was a trooper, though. I didn't get to go to the hospital, actually, because they said only one parent could go into the hospital at a time due to the virus. So I stayed home with Thomas. But now he's going to be Buzz Lightyear, but in my mind, I'm going to picture him as zombie Buzz Lightyear. I don't think James knows what a zombie is yet. But he's actually going to be zombie Buzz Lightyear this year. So that's a lot of fun. Today, we are going to be going through 3 post-flop exploits to crush your opponents. I saw someone asked earlier, are these for tournaments or cash games? They're for everything. So many people think that poker is only this. You have to really narrow down to exactly $11 buy-in tournaments that are not turbo structured, that are not deep structured, that have exactly a $1 rake, etc., etc. You don't have to narrow down all that often. I'm telling you that the vast majority of exploitable plays especially apply to all player types that you're going to encounter when they play a specific way, right? It doesn't matter the game you're playing. To be fair, it really extrapolates to other big bet games like PLO. If your opponents do something very, very wrong, you can get out of line and exploit them. So, understand that to really crush your opponents, first things first, you must learn how to play fundamentally sound and learn how to exploit the weak opponents. We discussed this thoroughly at my training site, pokercoaching.com. Please make sure you go through all the homework there. That is going to ensure you are playing good, fundamentally sound poker and you know how to adjust whatever your opponents do wrong. And in this webinar, I'm going to be teaching you 3 exploits to crush the weaker opponents, how to use these exploits in real hand examples, and how to identify these leaks quickly at the table so you can make the exploit. Exploit number 1. Overfold on the river. Understand that weak players, and in the small stakes games and medium stakes games, essentially everyone, do not bluff the river often enough. I know I've said this a few times in my various webinars and in the classes of poker coaching, but it's very, very true and it's very, very important. So many people find hands that are normally good, strong GTO bluff catchers, and they call against weak, tight, straightforward players, and that is a substantial blunder. Not just a little blunder, a substantial blunder. And there are many runouts that actually make it difficult for even good, strong players to be bluffing enough. Let's take a look at an example or two of this. Here we're playing 50-cent dollar no-limit cash games. We're facing a min raise. We're going to defend the big blind, of course. Flop comes 9-7-4. Seems like an easy check raise to me. We typically want to be check raising with our draws in this scenario, especially the ones that lack showdown value, and this is clearly a draw that lacks showdown value, so we'll make it about $10. About 3 times the opponent's bet. I think we could go maybe even a little bit bigger if we felt inclined, but whatever, this is fine. Opponent calls. I already know I'm going to be barreling every single turn. Think about what turns are bad for you. You should always take a second and do that. Really, we don't especially want to see a 9. A 9's pretty bad. 7's not great, I suppose. 4 is not great. Not because we are necessarily worried about our opponent having a 7 or 4, but because now they're just never folding an overpair. And also, I would probably not be check raising a whole lot of 7s or 4s to begin with. So those are not particularly good for me. You may think clubs are bad, but clubs are fine. I would definitely check raise lots of clubs, so I'm probably going to keep betting on those. You may think an ace is bad, but an ace isn't so bad. If your opponent has an overpair like jacks and an ace comes, that's pretty rough for them, right? So this is a spot where I'm going to be betting on most turns. We do bet $19. We're setting up a river jam, as you can see. If the opponent calls, pot's going to go up to about $63. We're going to have about 69 bucks behind, so we can jam the river if we feel inclined. And now the river is the 10 of clubs. Take a second. Think about what you would like to do here. It's a neat spot. When we bet kind of big on the turn, our opponent's range shrinks to probably a 9 and better, which, we beat some of those. But also flush draws, which of course we lose to, and also random queens, like king, queen of diamonds, queen, jack of diamonds, etc. Opponent could have, 6-5 type hands. This is a neat spot. Should we bluff this is the first question. Will our opponent fold out a queen? Probably not. Also, it's important to realize we are bluffing into a range that contains all the good nut flushes, right? So we don't especially want to be bluffing into a range that contains all the good nut flushes. So I think this is a pretty clear check. And then the opponent bets small. Yuck. How do we feel about this one? Well, I'll tell you, if you ran this through a GTO solver, would you believe it actually tells you to call some portion of the time? About 60% of the time against another GTO player. True, you're actually supposed to call this hand. However, in order to justify calling here, the solver suggests that the player on the button is bluffing with 7s and 9s. They're thinking if the solver has a 9 or a 7 here, they are bluffing it very frequently. Because really, if you think about their range, they have almost no obvious bluffs besides exactly 6-5 and 10-8 like us and 8-6 suited, right? And that's very, very important to recognize that if your opponent's not turning a 9 or a 7 into a bluff, which even a lot of world-class players don't do because they just check it back for showdown value. So if they are not bluffing in this scenario, you have a very, very easy fold. How about against the never bluff idiots we all play against? Well, Sean, did you not hear what I just said? I've been talking about this the whole time. Against a never bluff idiot, as you say, someone who doesn't bluff, then fold, because they're not bluffing, right? If your opponent doesn't bluff, this is an even easier fold. What I'm trying to recommend is that even against world-class opponents, this is probably an easy fold, despite the fact that the solver will tell you to call in the scenario about 60% of the time. Okay? So make sure you understand who you're playing against. Today's entire class is about exploiting opponents. We're discussing how to play against the players you are likely playing against so that you can immediately start making more money in these games. And this is a spot where you just have to fold, even though solver recommends a call. There are a lot of spots like that where you should never play, or very close to never play, the GTO strategy because your opponents don't play the GTO strategy, right? And what you can do instead is you can do what's referred to as node locking, which you should obviously do because nobody plays GTO. You should insert the strategy that you expect your opponent to play into the solver. Solver then tells you what you should do in response. If your opponents don't bluff here often enough, this goes from being a call 60% of the time to a fold 100% of the time. So it's important to understand what your opponents do wrong. And you can use math and the solver to solve for it. Is this for tournaments or cash games? Come on, we literally just answered this, Steve. A lot of these exploits, well, to be fair, almost all exploits apply to all games because we're explaining how to beat various player types. We're not explaining how to beat specifically $11 buy-in tournaments with a $1 rake with a non-turbo structure that pays out 14.2% of the field, with first place getting 18.3% of the prize pool. That's not what we're talking about. And to be fair, if people try to talk to you about poker like that, they're overly complicating it. We are talking about how to exploit the various player types you are likely to encounter. This is a deep stacked hand, so it doesn't apply to 12 big blind poker, but it applies to 100 big blind deep poker. Notice this example is from 50-cent dollar cash games. What about check raise bluffing? Nope. Don't be doing that. And this hand, hero called though. Big mistake. Big mistake. Opponent did show up with one of the bluffs, or one of the straights, so, that makes logical sense. Not shocking, right? Let's take a look at another hand that shows the similar scenario where you should overfold on the river. Here we raise it up, king, queen suited, get 3-bet, easy call, check. If the opponent bets this flop, We're just going to go ahead and jam it all in. Here we have a pretty reasonable scenario to check shove, because if the opponent has ace king, ace queen, maybe even like a thin value bet with like random ace nine suited or something like that, then we should probably go for the jam. So I would check jam flop, but check this time. Turn is the king. What do you like doing here? Do we check or do we bet? Take a second. Type it in the comments. Any tips for beating maniacs who go all in with any two cards? Yeah, play better cards than them. Turns out poker is really easy. If they play 100% of hands and you play 50% of hands, you're going to be a big favorite every time. What rivers would I bluff on? The ones that don't give me a pair. All right. This is a spot where we should check. And the reason we should check is because now we have a very clear range and, well, at least a range disadvantage. Whenever the opponent likes to go check on the flop, they're going to have a ton of ace-king type hands in this scenario. And they're also going to have some bluffs. If they have a bluff, I really want to keep them in the pot. If they have ace-king, I don't want to make a big pot, right? A lot of people in this spot think that we should be check raising all in. No. If you check raise all in, you're going to get called pretty much entirely when you're beat. That's not good. Understand that we have a very good hand if a little bit of money goes into the pot or we induce the opponent to bluff. But we do not have a good hand if we're just like betting and ramming and jamming our money in the pot, because then the opponent's going to be at least somewhat competent. They're going to look down at their pocket sevens and think, oh, sevens probably aren't good if my opponent wants to check shove me, huh? But they may decide to bluff it on the river, or they're going to have ace queen and think the same thing, right? You may say, oh, I don't want to get outdrawn by ace queen, but we don't really care because ace queen's drawing to 2 or 3 outs, right? They can have their 2 or 3 outs if they're going to bluff the river sometimes. This is a spot where opponent blast it. Easy call, like I said. You do not want to raise here. And one thing we actually know about this opponent, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a read we have on this opponent. We have seen them check back the river 6 times today. One time, the board had a flush available, and they had a set. They had top set. This is a passive player on the river. This is a passive player on the river. All right, we check river, opponent jams. If you know this player is passive on the river, maybe they would even bluff if they had a sporadic draw. What should we do here? Look, again, you run this to a solver, it's going to tell you it's a slam dunk call. But I actually think this is a reasonable fold. If we had ace-jack, it would definitely be a fold. If we had pocket queens, it would definitely be a fold. I don't hate calling here because this is a really good hand. If we're folding this hand, we're folding essentially our entire range. But against a lot of people who are playing very straightforwardly on the river, it probably is going to just be a fold. All right. Do any strategies apply when stupid players don't play according to rules? They play garbage cards. Yeah, play better cards than them. Poker's really easy when your opponents are really, really bad. It seems like people think that when people are bad that poker becomes hard, but no, it's super easy. Just play better cards than them. All you have to do to beat someone who plays every hand is play top 50% of hands and you'll crush them because you're going to make better hands than they make. Turns out if you make better cards, make better hands by the river than they make, you win all the money. It's easy. You're going to have a lot of variance. But who cares, right? Play properly bankrolled, play in games you can beat, and play it a ton. It's all you have to do to win. It's not a slam dunk call if you node lock the solver and take out a lot of the bluffs. Indeed, you're going to find that that is very, very accurate. If you run this to a solver and presume your opponent's playing anywhere near fundamentally sound, this is a slam dunk call, easiest call in the world, no problem. But if you node lock and say your opponent's not bluffing with the few obvious bluffs that even make logical sense, then it's actually becomes a pretty easy fold. Now the fear here is that you beat some hands. Like if you beat king 10 that would value bet, it becomes pretty dicey. If you beat queens that may value bet, it becomes pretty dicey. But this is a spot where I do think it's probably just going to be a fold. But what our strategy would be if our opponent would bluff a busted diamond draw some portion of the time. Well, so Nate, the big problem with that concept is, first off, we block all the diamonds, right? They can't have ace king, can't have ace queen, can't have ace jack. They'd probably bet ace 10 on the flop, right? They'd probably bet ace 7 on the flop, right? If they even 3-bet it. Ace 6, Ace 5, Ace 4, Ace 3, Ace 2. Maybe they 3-bet it, maybe they don't. But notice right there, we only listed like 4 or 5 reasonable hands that would bluff. 10-7 of diamonds. You think 10-7 of diamonds is 3-betting us pre-flop? No. That would be bad. So if the opponent's playing anywhere near well, they realistically only have Ace 10 of diamonds, Ace 7 of diamonds, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 7 of them. And I'm telling you, 2 of them should just bet the flop like every time. So the opponent really only has 5 logical bluffs here. Now, they could have Ace 10 offsuit, but they would probably bet that on the flop, so we can discount that. So opponent has literally 5 combinations of bluffs. But they may be getting tricky with pocket aces. 6 of those. Ace king. How many ace kings are there? Type it in the chat. You should all know this. The way to figure out how many combinations of hands someone has is you count the number of unseen cards available. Right here, there are 2 kings left, because I have a king and there's a king on the board. 2 kings. How many aces are left? There's 4 aces left, because we don't see any of those. 2 times 4 is 8. There are 8 ace kings available. Maybe we should redo that webinar. You all are all over the place in the chat. 9, 8, 12, 18. You don't know. Listen. If you see none of the cards, say there are no aces or kings in your hand or on the board. There's 4 aces left, 4 kings. 4 times 4 is 16. If you have a king in your hand and there's none on the board, there's 3 kings left, 4 aces left. 3 times 4 is 12. If there's a king on the board and a king in your hand, 2 kings left, 4 aces left, 2 times 4 is 8. If there are 2 kings on the board and a king in your hand, there's 1 king left, 4 aces, 1 times 4 is 4. Okay? That's how you do it. Now you know how to count combinations. Okay. In this scenario, like I said, I think it's probably a reluctant fold. I hate the fold. I don't like folding. I really don't like folding. But I do think that is probably an okay spot to lay it down. All right. Adjustment number 2. Attack wide ranges. Weak players are going to have a very, very, very difficult time defending often enough when they have a wide range. When do they have a wide range? Take a second. Think about it. Most weak players are going to have wide ranges when they're out of position, right? They're going to defend the blinds kind of wide, and then they're not going to know what to do. And in theory, you should be bluffing, let's call it too often. You should be over bluffing against wide ranges. So blind versus blind and late position versus big blind. This is a scenario where we should be getting after it. So let's take a look at a hand here. Ace 7 offsuit, all right? Loose raise, but whatever, it's fine. Big blind calls. Here we have it. We have overcard, backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. Seems like a nice spot to make a continuation bet to me. We do bet small. We're going to bet small with our entire range here. Opponent calls. Turns a king. Easy bluff card. This card's terrible for our opponent and great for me. A lot of my flop bluffs just got there, so easy bluff on the turn. And now it's very important to set up our river bet. I think we could probably go a touch bigger on the turn, like 1,600. I think that's going to result in roughly the same number of calls, and it's just going to get a little bit more money in the pot, which will allow us to steal a bigger pot on the river. And by the way, we're planning on jamming on the river here. That's already very clear to me. Pretty much no matter what the river comes, I'm going to be all in the spot. I guess if the river's a 9 or a 5, I would be a little bit cautious. But in this scenario, I think it is reasonable to bluff even on those cards. Opponent checks, we rip it all in. And this is just good, aggressive poker. Maybe a little bit too aggressive according to GTO. I didn't actually run this one through the solver, but I know this is going to be a highly profitable play. And this is what you need to be doing. The opponent's range is what's referred to as capped. Capped. Opponent probably has a lot of hands like a 9 or a 5, right? And in this scenario, our range improved a ton on the turn because I would definitely bet the flop with king, queen, king, jack, king 10, right? And the jack on the river is fine too because if we had draws, flush draws, those got there. If I was randomly bluffing queen 10, that got there. So, like, what does our opponent even beat here on the river? They beat sporadic ace-high triple barrels, which a lot of people don't even do. So this is a very, very nice line to take. And does the opponent call us? No, they don't. Don't call us this time. Do we lead any hands on the river for value after check calling turn? You want to lead, in general, when the river is good for your hand and good for your range. Maybe not necessarily good for your hand. When it's good for your range. And that kind of implies that if it is really good for your range, if you check, your opponent's going to check behind a ton. And you want to be leading there when you have a very strong polarized range, right? This is often going to be when like low straights come in or low, but really when low cards come in. That's going to be very often the scenario. You definitely don't want to lead when the flush card comes in if your opponent plays well, because they are often going to have all the nut flushes if they bet the flop in the turn, right? They're betting polarized. So if they're betting polarized, they could certainly have the nut flushes, which means they should be inclined to bluff those scenarios. But if your opponent's bad and they're just always going to play straightforwardly against the lead, then sure, lead all you want, right? Again, are you trying to exploit your opponent or are you trying to play fundamentally sound? You all enjoy my content. Well, thank you. Good. If you take this line anticipating lots of folds, how should we play king-queen on the turn? Ooh, there you go. That's a good question. Couldn't he have 9s and 5s and a jack? Sure, but he's going to fold it to the river bet. He's going to fold it to the river bet. What if he has the flush? Then we lose. Notice we block the flush. We have the ace of diamonds. When you have the ace of diamonds, you block the majority of the flushes, right? Yeah, if he has a flush, you lose. Sometimes you're going to lose. I think a lot of people forget that we are playing a gambling game here where you don't win 100% of the time. There are different YouTube channels if you want to watch content on chess. We're playing poker here where sometimes you're going to lose even when you play well. Do you still bluff rivers to help the villain's range? Sometimes. Because we have the solid blocker, right? I mean, like I said, river 9 and 5 are pretty bad for me. Every other river I think is good enough, and I'd probably bluff every other river. Actually, if river's a 9 or a 5, I probably do check because we actually beat sporadic draws with the ace high in that scenario. So that's probably it. What if they lead into you small on the river? Do we raise? Depends on the opponent's strategy, right? How do I think a random hypothetical avatar named BB is going to play? How do you expect them to play? I don't know. You don't know. If they're leading all junk, yeah, raise them. If they're leading only nuts, fold. Right? That's what you have to figure out about your exact type of opponent. Poker's not as easy as always raise or always fold. Okay? You have to pay attention to your specific opponent. And if you know they lead small here for thin value, like queen jack or king 2 or king 4, then blast them out of their seat because they're going to fold. But if you think they're leading with nuts, you should just fold. Okay? Is ace king suited worth a shove pre-flop? Depends on how deep stacked you are. Does the villain stack size change our decision on the river? Probably not. Probably just rip it in anyway, unless they're super deep. So someone asked how we play king-queen, which is a good question. And if you want to be very exploitative on the river, well, first off, on the turn, you do want to keep betting just purely for value, purely for protection, because they could easily have diamonds themselves, right? So if they could have diamonds, you want to be value betting. If they check raise you all in, it's unfortunate, but you got to call it off. If you do bet turn and get called, I think you should go for a small bet on the river. Very, very exploitative play. We are talking about exploits today, right? That's a solid spot to go for a 3,500 river bet, 3,000 river bet, something like that. Remember, we're trying to get called by a 9 or a 5. So how much will a 9 or a 5 call? Maybe not even 3,000. Maybe you want to go more like 2,200. I think that would certainly be viable to go 2,200 and then go for that. Some players recommend overbetting the turn to make them fold small pairs. I would rather bet small on the turn, get called every time, and then make them fold everything on the river. But it is important to note, if you bet big on the turn and they call you, you're done. Because they announce they have a good hand. But if you bet small on the turn and they call, they could have all sorts of junk, which allows you to continue bluffing. So you have to figure out, what am I trying to induce here? If you bet small on the turn and get called, you sure better bluff. It'd be a very, very big mistake to let this go check, check. Unless, of course, the river's terrible for your range, right? Do you shove on the river if the ace of hearts comes? If the ace of hearts comes, we also go for the value bet. Isn't it frisky to bet the flush completer against the big blind? Not when we have the ace of diamonds. No, it's not frisky. It's good. This is just good poker. Good poker here. This is exactly how I would play this hand. All right. Next, attack capped ranges. So here we were attacking wide ranges where the opponent was capped as well. But now we're going to discuss playing like clearly capped ranges. And this is a scenario where weak players will have a difficult time protecting their passive checking and calling ranges. And when a weak player is clearly capped, we want to be bluffing. Here's a good example of this. They raise early position. We call 4s on the button. Very standard. Ace 10-2. They checked. When weak, tight, straightforward players check ace 10-2, what does their range look like? Take a second. Think about it. Well, it's going to be a whole lot of hands worse than an ace. And if it is an ace, it's going to be a bad ace. So if we know This opponent is weak, tight, bad. Should we try to bluff this? And the answer is yes. Clearly. Because we're going to be able to make them fold pretty much their entire range by the river. So, we're going to bet flop, we're going to bet turn, we're going to jam river here to get the opponent off of every hand worse than a good ace. And if you listen to that range I just told you, their whole range, for the most part, is going to be hands worse than an ace. Right? So we're going to win this pot, essentially, every time by tripling off. We already know what's going to happen. We're going to bet the flop, they're going to call a ton. We're going to bet the turn, they're going to call a decent amount. Make sure you set up river stacks such that you're going to have fold equity on the river. Don't bet too big on the turn. Seems like a lot of you think we want to be betting big on the turn to scare our opponent out or protect our equity or something like this. But no. Someone said on the previous hand, don't we want to bet big to protect against flush draws? No. Because when you bet big, when you get called, you're dead. That's the thing it seems like you're missing. Whenever you bet big on the turn and get called, you are screwed. You're not winning this pot. But when you bet small or medium and get called, you still have a lot of fold equity on the river because you keep their range wider on the turn. When you keep their range wider on the turn, there's many, many more hands that they can then fold out on the river, right? So if they have many more hands that they're going to fold out on the river, that allows you to bluff all three streets. And when your bluffs get through, which they very often will, you win the pot a ton. This is actually not a great run out, by the way. Because the opponent could very easily have like ace 6 or ace 3, but like whatever, still bluff it. Easy bluff. You got to bet big on the river. Yes, you have to blast the river. The plan is not to bet tiny. By the way, small bet on the river is almost always a bad play against most people unless they are especially bad. Because when you bet small, either you're trying to make an exploitative play to try to get called by their clearly junky range as well, which implies they're bad, or you're value betting some marginal made hand, but value betting a marginal made hand is not especially great, right? Because if you get bet small and get raised, you're actually in a very, very bad spot. So anyway, this is a very, very nice spot to triple. We very likely don't have the best hand, right? Because the opponent checked flop, right? The opponent has, in reality, probably stuff like king, queen, king, jack, and better. So 3s, 4s, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, king, queen, jack, ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, ace 6, ace 7, etc. And this is a spot where I think we should be blasting it. Isn't this a scenario where we should be checking our fours since they have showdown value? We have literally no showdown value here, Juan. Did you pay attention to the hand? Look, this guy raised under the gun and then checked the flop. You think this guy's checking non-showdown value hands? Like, no way. This guy's just betting all of his weak hands, right? So when he checks, he has a very clear marginal made hand. If he is checking hands like 9-8 offsuit or 9-8 suited, whatever, I want to bet to make him fold that hand that has equity. And because if I let it go check, check, and he bets turn, I just have to fold. Okay? What does a weak player entail? Weak player means someone who does not play good, fundamentally sound poker in my mind. Now, you can narrow it down substantially more to mean weak means checks and folds too often, right? If they check and fold too often, then you should definitely be bluffing them. And here, I definitely am attacking this player who is weak because they are checking with only marginal made hands. They're not protecting their checking range very well, so we are going for it. Does this mean you should always bluff jam with your marginal made hands on the river? Absolutely not, AC. Depends on your opponent's range. Here, can't make this any more clear, the opponent's range is marginal. Literally. This is the exploit we just talked about. Attack capped ranges. When the opponent's range is capped, yeah, you should be attacking. Especially if you can't win at showdown. Also, this is not a marginal made hand. That's what you all seem to be missing. This is junk. If you use the poker coaching homework and the poker coaching range analyzer, this would be junk here. If this hand checks down, we lose. Way more often than we win, right? So if we lose way more often than we win, then it's not junk. It's not a marginal made hand, it's junk. Okay? What if there's another player in the pot? Then it'd be a different scenario. All right, here we go. Jonathan Lowe is one of the very few people you feel like you actually learn from when he explains it like he's talking to a 2-year-old. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's a bunch of people who quote that if you cannot teach a child how to do something, then you don't actually know what you're doing and you're just guessing. So, every once in a while we have to break it down nice and easy, and we do our best. No set, no bet in early position. Don't play by the rule no set, no bet. Here we have no set, and we win the pot. No set, win the pot. Set, win the pot too. Do we apply this in the early stages or also only when the blinds start to increase? No, you can apply it in all stages of the poker tournament. All right, let's take a look. Let's summarize what we've learned today. And if you have any questions, let me know. Type them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. 3 post-flop exploits to crush your opponents we discussed. And you know what I recommend you do? Over the course of this weekend, use these exploits in your games and let me know how it goes. Come back here to this YouTube video and leave a comment or send me an email, support@pokercoaching.com, and let me know how it goes. I like to hear it. If it fails, don't blame me. Don't be mad. But I can tell you, getting out of line and exploiting your opponents is going to go a long way to crush them. I actually spent a decent amount of time playing 1-2 no limit at Borgata. A lot of people think that, none of this stuff matters because Jonathan Lowe only plays high stakes games. But I make a point to learn the games that I am actively teaching, and I get there and play. I played 1-2 at Borgata, and we used these exact strategies and more, and we crushed the game. We won about $40 an hour over the course of a week. I put in sessions every single day, and these plays work. They print money. Now, sometimes they fail, but they print money. So get in there and crush it. While you all are typing in your questions, let me tell you about the Halloween sale I have coming up. If you like my content here, if you like my work, click like, click subscribe, and check out pokercoaching.com/Halloween. We are putting lots of my content on sale. We have all sorts of videos on cash games, including my cash game masterclass, which is a 29-part series with quizzes between every single video that will force you to think about how to play your entire range and how to exploit your range, how to adjust your range to exploit your opponents. So make sure you check out that. Also, we have loads of tournament content. We go through my deep Montreal run recently. We talk about preparing David Einhorn for the $1 million buy-in one-drop tournament. So make sure you check that out. Also, here's one of our students, Blas Zerjau. Maybe you know him. He won $400,000 the other day on Party Poker. Last year, he won $1.3 million on Party Poker. He crushes it. He says, poker coaching has helped him lay a strong foundation to excel in no-limit hold'em and further work on his game with my help. So anyway, students are crushing it. I'm glad to hear it. It's always good when students win millions of dollars. To be fair, he started a few years ago with about $100. He ran it up. And makes me happy. Makes me happy to hear the success stories. I actually prepared him for the World Series of Poker last year. So check that out. We did 13 hours of private coaching where he would send me a hand history. I would review it. I'd send it back to him. He would give me feedback. He lives on the other side of the world compared to me. And it was great. He learned a ton. Shortly afterwards, he won $400,000 on Party Poker. What more do you want from me? So that is there at pokercoaching.com/Halloween. Here's a look at our coaches. We just hired Brad Wilson. You may know him from the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast, where he interviews many of the absolute best poker players in the world. And he's a world-class cash game player, and we just hired him as a new coach. Last night, we did a webinar with Bert Stevens. He is Giraffe Ganger. He is the #1 player in the world online last year. He and Michael Acevedo, the GTO expert, he wrote the book Modern Poker Theory. They did a joint webinar last night where they reviewed Bert's recent $400,000 win on GG Poker. He won their $10,000 weekly tournament a week or two ago. So that's fantastic. Anyway, we have lots and lots of great coaches. We have Faraz Jaka. We have Jonathan Jaffe. Faraz Jaka has won, I think, 2 WPTs, absolute crusher. Jonathan Jaffe, I believe he's won 2 WPTs as well, and I beat him heads up in one. That was a lot of fun. Matt Affleck. Anyway, read the names, look them up. They're all world class. I hire people who I want to learn from. This is a little secret. I don't tell everybody. But I made pokercoaching.com for me because I want to continue getting good at poker. And I know that if you surround yourself with world-class players and you get them to share their thoughts with you and you study hard from them and you learn, you're going to get amazingly great at poker. And that's what I want for myself, and it's what I want for all of you. Also, pokercoaching.com, we have loads and loads and loads and loads of quizzes. We have over 1,000 of them where I ask you how to play your range in various scenarios and how to play your hand in various scenarios. And essentially, every time you make a decision, you get real-time feedback. Like right here in this scenario, in this hand, whoever took this did great pre-flop, not so great on the flop, great on the turn, and got an okay score, right? And if you see that you're screwing up left and right, like you see we have a bad river decision here, right? This may be an indicator that you are perhaps bad at the river, which gives you something to consider studying. We also have lots and lots of Homework. You thought homework was over, huh? Not if you want to get good at something. Every month, I task the students with a homework question. It's a big question. This is only one part of a question. But I ask, how would you play your range pre-flop, on the flop, on the turn, and on the river? Now, all these classes I mentioned before, every single one of these here, all of these, all of this, all of this, all of these, all the content by all these coaches, the quizzes, all of this. This is all part of Poker Coaching Premium. We also have a Poker Coaching Standard membership that includes a little bit less of the content, but still is a very, very excellent way to learn. At Poker Coaching Premium, we have over 275 classes and webinars. These classes are 30 minutes at the shortest, about 2 hours at the longest, where the coaches go through all sorts of content. Like Faraz Jaka, he reviewed his deep run in the $5,000 buy-in W-Coop main event recently. We have Lexy Gavin going through fundamentally sound pre-flop cash game strategies. We have Jonathan Jaffe, the exploitative master. Check raising the flops as the pre-flop raiser. This was a great one. I watched it the other day. Jonathan Jaffe gets after it. You want to see someone who bluffs a lot, wins all the pots, wins all the tournaments, sometimes goes broke? Jonathan Jaffe's the man. Anyway, all that's included in Poker Coaching Premium. So make sure you check that out. We're actually having a sale right now on Poker Coaching and Poker Coaching Premium. For Poker Coaching, you can get 1, 2, or 3 years worth of access. Every month, we have 15 new quizzes, a new video, the homework, live coaching webinars, etc., etc., etc. Access to our private Discord. All of this is available in pokercoaching.com. You can get a 1, 2, or 3 year membership. Here you see the prices. If you get a 3-year membership, what's $3.99 divided by 1,000? 40 cents a day? You pay 40 cents a day for access to these coaches and their content. It's $11 a month. If you play poker at all, for any amount of money, and you're not spending time studying and getting better at poker, you are leaving money on the table. Let me tell you about Poker Coaching Premium a little bit. We have a 30-day tournament preparation challenge in there. Again, check that out at pokercoaching.com/Halloween, where every single day for 30 days, I'm going to send you a piece of content and a quiz to make sure you know what is going on. As you see, day 1, learning your opponents through their pre-flop play. We discuss pinpointing the leaks your opponents make, right? Step number 1, figure out what they do wrong. Day 2, 3-betting at different stack depths, because you should not 3-bet the same with the same ranges from all positions, right? Exploitative play. The list goes on and on. 6 max tournament review. I know a lot of people are scared to play shorthanded, but 6 max tournament review. There you go. Anyway, 30 days worth of content sent to you every single day. If you want to binge it, you can do that too. Also included, if you're a cash game player, we have the 14-day cash game challenge. Here are the topics. We go through pre-flop, flop, turn, and river play. Also a little bit of heads up strategy there too, in case you want to check that out. So make sure you do that. Here is what you get in Poker Coaching Premium. You can get a 1-year membership. Over the next year, we're going to be adding over 300 new hand quizzes. We upload a ton of them. I've seen the list that gets uploaded. It's a lot of content for all of you. But I see people going through all of it. I know that some of the students are literally going through all of the content. We also are going to put up 48 more new live coaching webinars, 24 new classes, and 12 live homework webinars. So lots and lots and lots of great content going up to pokercoaching.com over the next year. By the way, if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, today, let me tell you what we have going on just today. Okay? At 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I had to pull it off on my phone because it's too much to read. Faraz Jaka, 2-time WPT winner, absolute crusher. He's going to be streaming live only for Poker Coaching Premium members starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Time today in about an hour. Okay? That's happening at 4 p.m. At 5 p.m. for cash game players, we're hosting a webinar from James Romero. You may not know James Romero, but he was one of the top 10 live tournament players last year before COVID. Absolute crusher, plays all the high stakes games. He's hosting a cash game review where he's reviewing high stakes cash game hands from the insanely high stakes that are taking place on GG right now. And then at 7 p.m., Grips, Jarvis is hosting a webinar using meditation to improve your play. He gets a little bit into the mindset side of things sometimes. And that is happening just today for Poker Coaching members. Lots and lots of content for you. Pick what you want. I mean, what more do you want from me? We're literally giving you loads and loads of content today. So check it out. Call this the Poker Coaching Random Thursday Seminar, right? So anyway, lots and lots of content for you. Whenever you sign up, by the way, you may be a little bit overwhelmed. I understand that. So what I recommend you do is send us an email. If you don't know where to start, send us an email and tell us briefly where you are in poker, what games you play, what stakes you play, what you're trying to accomplish, and we will send you an email back letting you know exactly where to get started so that you will be directed to exactly what you want. By the way, you see these 275 classes and videos? All of these are searchable to where, like, say you want to study, I don't know, turn raises, right? You type in turn raises, it'll come up, and you'll have content on turn raises most likely, or whatever topic you want. I've done many 30-minute videos on specific topics that these students at Poker Coaching asked me to make, and that's all there for you. That's just there and available. Anyway, Poker Coaching Premium, normally $1,188 for a year. You can get a year for $749. Again, do the math. What is that? $2 per day? If you want to get good at poker, hate to break it to you, you probably need to invest about $2 a day to get good at poker. I know a lot of other training sites want to charge you substantially more per month. I know there's another good training site out there. They charge $500 a month for their content. Has way less content than we have. Only has a coach or two. We have many coaches, all world-class players. I know other courses out there, they want to sell you one course that's about 8 hours long for $1,500. As you see, you get loads and loads of content here. Way more than that on whatever you want in terms of poker. We try to give you an all-inclusive experience so you don't have to go anywhere else. You don't really have to go and learn from anywhere else. You get everything you need right here. Also, we have lots and lots of charts. I don't know if I even mentioned this here. Did I mention this? We have a poker coaching app. Ooh, let me show you this real quick. We have the poker coaching app. Search it. You can download it. You can get free access to some of the content there if you haven't. We have GTO pre-flop charts. You can literally enter any scenario. Let's say we're on the button versus a raise from the low jack seat. 20 big blinds deep in a tournament. It'll tell you the GTO strategy. You see how quick I typed that in? It came up just that fast. Now I know which hands to go all in with, the hands in red, which hands to call, the hands in green, and which hands to fold, the hands in blue, right? And you may say, 20 big blinds, shouldn't you use a shove or fold chart? No. If you have 20 big blinds, you should be calling sometimes. If you use a shove or fold chart, you're lighting your money on fire. So if you're using a shove or fold chart when you have more than 10 big blinds, please know that you are screwing up and you're throwing your money in the dumpster. Please stop throwing your money in the dumpster. Study poker and get good. Reference the charts. Get good at poker. That's just included in Poker Coaching Premium. We have 20 big blind charts, 40, 60, 80, 100. Right? We have all sorts of charts there available for you. They're there. Also, much of this content is available in the app. So, it's all there, available for you on the go. Try to do everything I can to make this accessible and cheap for you. Kevin says, Poker Coaching Premium is the best value in poker coaching anywhere. Well, good. That's the goal. Do we have Limit Hold'em content? We do not. And Tim, I'll tell you the reason why. You're not going to like this. But Limit Hold'em is a game that is not really played all that much. And I don't think that game has much of a future. I do not recommend my students spend substantial time learning a game that I do not think has much of a future. I used to play Limit Hold'em. I made a final table at a World Series event in Limit Hold'em. I like Limit Hold'em. But if somebody asked me, should they spend time playing Limit Hold'em when they could be playing No Limit Hold'em or even like a different game that is played more widely, I would tell them to play the game that's played more widely. Let's see. What's a good way to keep track of your tournaments on Global Poker? I have no idea. Literally no idea. The American sites are a little bit wonky when it comes to letting you use heads-up displays and hold a manager and whatnot. When playing online, is it worth it to put on pants? Depends on if you're going to get cold or not. Any advice for the Venom PKO tournaments on ACR? I know Giraffe Ganger is actually streaming a lot of PKO tournaments for Poker Coaching Premium members. You can go back and watch all the streams, by the way. I know a lot of people have streams that they stream one time and then they delete it. No, we save all that stuff. All of the streams that we've done for Poker Coaching Premium members. I've streamed some. Faraz Jaka streamed. Matt Affleck streamed. And Giraffe Ganger, #1 online player in the world, has streamed. I think last week he was streaming a $5,000 buy-in tournament and a bunch of PKO tournaments. So check it out. He also did a video on PKO tournaments as well. So that's there. Any advice? Play great. Oh, in the tool section. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I'll show it to you if the internet will function properly. Let's see. Take this, go right over here, go down to Tools, okay? See the Tools tab? These are all the tools we have. PKO Bounty Calculator. You see this right here? Click this. It just downloaded a spreadsheet. Use the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet will tell you how to calculate the value of the bounty in terms of chips, which will allow you to know how many chips to add to the pot when you can collect the bounty, which will allow you to play well. Which platform do these run on? It's all private within our site. We use various webinar programs and whatnot. Private YouTube streams, etc. Pure marketing and sales pitch channel. You missed the first 35 minutes. Sorry. All right. Let's see. Hope you're all having a great day. I appreciate it. What's my opinion on limping/flatting? Sure, feel free. Is that picture from Foxwoods? I have literally no idea. Oh, Louis Philippe is here. Louis Philippe runs a study group at Poker Coaching. We have a Discord channel, and the students are there, I believe, 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After I do my show, a little coffee. That's at 9 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And they're studying poker. Joe, just the other day, actually won $16,000, and Jay won $11,000 this weekend. So good job, good work. Come study with the winners. Get in there, get in the Discord and cooperate with everybody else and learn to improve your skills. Developing a good study group is vitally important if you want to succeed at poker long term, and that's what we are doing here. We have a vibrant Discord channel. We have a vibrant forum where you can post your hands, interact with other people, and improve your skills. Sometimes you'll cap your range against aggressive players when you're strong. So you're not capping your range, you're protecting your range. You're saying that you are presuming that your opponents will assume you're weak because you checked. It's a good strategy. The GTO strategy is to make sure you're checking with some nut hands out of position. Very, 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 very important. Do the coaches do one-on-one coaching? Some of them do, yes. Get Ari Engel as a coach. I've tried. He doesn't want to do coaching, it seems. I've actually asked pretty much everyone who I think, well, maybe not everyone. I've asked a lot of people who I think are good, strong, world-class players, especially who have a very different perspective, to make content. And some people do. Some people want to. Some people don't, right? And that's good. Like, for example, we have Michael Acevedo, who's like the GTO expert. He wrote the book, Modern Poker Theory. Let me show it to you. It's this gigantic book. Look at this gigantic book on fundamentally sound GTO poker. If you want to learn how to play fundamentally sound poker, this is the book for you. Teaches you all about range analysis, exploits, etc. He wrote this book. He's a GTO master, and he was reviewing the webinar, or reviewing Draft Ganger's $400,000 win yesterday. Draft Ganger is like the exploitative master. So we have the exploitative master, the GTO master coming together, talking about poker, and all working together to improve. Let's see. All right, you all are back talking about the other hands. All right, let's see. Just the streams are worth it, in your opinion. Yeah, I mean, look, if you want... So, look, I'll tell you a big problem with a lot of the streams on Twitch and on YouTube. If they're good, it's going to sound bad. They get filled up with trolls. And that makes it hard to get good feedback from some of the coaches. Some coaches are good at ignoring it, but some coaches are not. But whenever you are streaming, well, when the coach is streaming to only like 100 people who are the poker coaching members, who are all there to try to learn, right? Those are people who are going to ask good questions. They're going to engage. Like last night, the chat was asking Michael Acevedo and Draft Ganger questions, and they were answering it because there's no nonsense they have to filter through, right? They're just getting only good content from good people who want to improve their skills. I'll tell you a little secret. If you want to make your community care, it's going to sound bad, make them pay you $2 a day. Turns out if people pay $2 a day, they actually want to be there. And if they actually want to be there, they're going to be participating, they're going to be learning, they're going to be productive, and they're going to be valuable community members as opposed to people who are doing a little bit more nonsense. Okay? Let's see. I have no clue what you're saying in the chat. How much is Poker Coaching Premium monthly without the sale? Without the sale, it is $99 a month, something like that. And by the way, I want to make this really clear. If you sign up to any of this and you don't like it, let me know within 30 days. I'll give you a full refund. I'm not like the other training sites out there that want to charge you $1,000 and then not reply to your emails and not give you a refund if you don't like it. If you don't like any of the work that I make, if you don't enjoy your membership, if you're not getting value from it, if you think it's not worth $2 a day, tell me and I'll give you a full refund. If I don't help you get better at poker, I do not want or deserve your money. So everything I sell here has 100% money back guaranteed. Let me know within 30 days. We'll give you a refund. No questions asked. Because, I get it that I'm not for everybody. You just can't make enough at 25 cent to cover the cost. Brutal. You got to be able to make 10 big blinds a day. It's tough. Is overfolding to donk bets a similarly good exploit to overfolding the river? Depends on the donk better's strategy, right, Andy? If the donk better is donking with only, let's say, good marginal made hands and premium made hands, then yeah, you should overfold. But if they're leading with junk and bad draws and bottom pair, then no, you should not fold. So you see that the exploit is based on what the opponent's tendency is. I mentioned overfolding the river today because most people drastically underbluff the river. I have a lot of data that says this. Pretty much everything we teach at pokercoaching.com is backed up by millions and millions of hands of data that I have from students, other players, etc. So I know how the population is playing. And if you know the population in the small and medium stakes games underbluffs in a particular spot, in turn, you can just exploit the whole player pool on average, and you're going to crush them. You're going to win money. Anyway, I'm glad you all are enjoying the streams. We actually added the streams recently, so that's something new. Something else new we are considering adding is question and answer sessions. So Monday morning for the Poker Coaching Premium members, I'm going to give 8 members 15 minutes each. They're going to call me on the phone, and we're going to talk about poker. It's going to be like a private 15-minute coaching session. They're actually going to call me on GoToWebinar. But we're going to have a 15-minute phone call with 8 members of Poker Coaching Premium, and we're going to talk through whatever they want to talk about. That's just something that's going to be included. Something else we started doing is if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, you can email me hands. You send in the hand history, I'll review it. Don't know how many we put up yet. It's a new addition to the site, but I'll show you where it is. You go right here to hand history review. Let's see how many we have up. We have up all of these that I reviewed over the last few days, and we're just going to keep adding more. Actually, we have 32. So 32 hands are reviewed over the last few days, and we're going to keep adding more and more and more. We have them all categorized by game type. You can search that. You can search buy-in. You can search number of blinds that were being played with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can search all this type of stuff. So definitely check that out. Something else we do is we are going to be giving away tournament buy-ins to the Poker Coaching members. If you want to play a live tournament or an online tournament, we have a backing form. Send us an email. We may give you some money. Pre-COVID, we were doing this quite a bit. Every month we were giving out something like $1,500 to the members because, I realize that a lot of you want to get out there and play. And especially if you don't have a big bankroll, I'm happy to give you $500 to go try to win a tournament or play a cash game or something like that. I want all of you to succeed. And you let me know what you want me to do, right? I mean, to some extent, poker coaching is a student-directed course. You tell me what you want. If it's feasible, we'll do it. Like an app, right? I had really no desire to make an app with full GTO solutions. By the way, there's another app out there. It charges $100 a month just for the same ranges we have. Actually, it has fewer ranges than we have. It charges $100 a month for this, and people pay it. Poker Coaching Premium costs $100 a month, and you get everything else too. It's like a no-brainer, right? Turns out it's not all that expensive to get the data. I mean, I have to pay, probably $15,000 for the data, but it is what it is. I'm happy to spend money for all of you, by the way. I think a lot of people don't realize how expensive it is to run a training site. I was looking at my profit loss statement the other day. I think I spent $232K on strategy content this year. Is that worth it? I hope so. It's not cheap to get content from all these coaches. I mean, let me show you these coaches. These are all literally world-class players. World-class players don't work for free. And it's okay. I don't mind paying them. I'm glad to give them some employment, right? But all of these coaches are uploading content every single month. And, I'm happy to spend the money for it. I'm glad that we have lots of members who, help me foot the bill. But like I said, Jonathan Little, the poker player, wants to continuously learn to get good at poker and to succeed. And I know to do that, I have to surround myself with a group of world-class pros who are absolutely crushing it so I can learn from them, right? I am not some sort of super poker genius. Hate to break it to you. Some of these people are super poker geniuses. I am not. I am very good at learning from other people. That is my secret skill. Learn from other people, and I can, take that knowledge and make it understandable to other people. But I have learned an immense amount from all of these coaches, and I want you to as well. I mean, that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to significantly improve the skills of all of you. So anyway, check it out, pokercoaching.com/Halloween. We have a sale. Thanks for all the questions you all typed in. What's a good big blind win rate for micro stakes players? You're assuming anything above 0 is good. No, I think you want to be winning at something like 6 to 8 EV big blind per 100 online. How many poker coaching premium members do we have? A bit over 2,000. Let's see. Do you mind showing us the push fold charts real quick, like how you navigate it? Oh boy. Well, let's see if I can pull this up. Why not? We actually have a few different types of charts here. We'll go to the tools. Let's go to the GTO preflop charts. Let me show you the GTO preflop charts first. This is also what you have on your phone, okay, but it's available on the computer. Let's say we have 40 big blinds. Let's say our position is low jack seat. Let's say the action is raise first in. This is what you raise when they fold to you. Let's say instead we're facing a... Is this thing not working? Go figure, it probably won't work now. Oh, here it is. Versus a raise. There we go. Opponent position is under the gun +1. Now, you see, it shows what you should do, right? Let's say you are playing a 10 big blind stack in the low jack seat. Here you go. Shove fold chart, right? In theory. If you wanted to follow this, this is what you should shove. Let me show you something that a lot of you may not know. Let's put you in the small blind. You want to see something neat? From the small blind, you're actually not supposed to shove or fold. You can actually use a limp or a shove strategy, as you see. Limping lets you play an extra 2% of hands, 26 combinations of hands, which is actually highly valuable. From the button, you see you can also use a limp strategy. Kind of cool. From the cutoff, though, you're all in or fold. If you look at 12 big blind strategy, again, don't use a shove fold chart unless you, of course, want to light your money on fire. From the early position, oh, this is versus a raise, my bad. Let's see. Raise first in, here we go. As you see, 12 big blinds deep, you should be min raising some hands, right? When you are in the cutoff. Let's see when you're in the small blind. 12 big blinds deep in the small blind, you're supposed to be limping a ton. I showed you the wrong chart a second ago. I was trying to show you this chart. 10 big blinds, small blind, when they fold to you, you see you're supposed to actually be limping a ton. There you go. That's the right chart. So anyway, a lot of people think they're supposed to use a shove or fold chart, but that's a pretty big mistake. That said, we do have the shove fold chart. Let's see, push fold app. It'll look something like this on your phone. It looks a little bit different on your phone. But anyway, this here shows you the number of big blinds you have. Look down here, right? Here we have position. Let's say we're on the button. Number of big blinds, 6. Adjustment. Don't worry about this. This is, you can adjust your strategy to be looser or tighter based on your opponents. Seats at the table. Type of ante, big blind, normal, or no ante. We'll do big blind ante. Ante size, big blind, or smaller. You can adjust it. Anyway, this is what you should shove with if they fold you and you have 6 big blinds. Let's say you fold because you get like Jack 5 offsuit or somebody raises, right? You click next. Now you're in the cutoff. Say they fold you in the cutoff, you get King 10 offsuit, you go all in. Click steal. Now you have 8 big blinds. Now you're in the hijack. Say you fold. Say you fold again because you get nothing. Fold, 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 fold. You get around to the big blind. You have no shoving strategy. But by the way, I didn't show you this down here. Here's your calling strategy. People jam. I generally recommend calling tighter than this though, because people don't shove quite optimally. Anyway, let's say we fold. Now we're in the small blind with 7 big blinds because we paid a big blind to the big blind, right? Click next, next, next. Steal, steal, steal. As you see, it keeps track of your stack as you go, so you can reference this very, very quickly. Anyway, that's just all available for poker coaching members. That's just part of it. I know some people are out there trying to charge you many dollars per month for an app that is not quick, that has incorrect ranges, that only has shove fold strategies instead of the GTO strategies. But anyway, check it out. Are you not supposed to only push when you have 10 big blinds? No harmony. I just showed you. Look. Let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you one more time. Right here. These are the charts at Poker Coaching. They're in the tool section in the GTO charts. Click 10 big blinds. Here we are on the small blind. They folded me in the small blind. We're supposed to limp all these hands in green. If you only use shove or fold, you're going to be making a mistake. Let me actually show you this. So here you get to play 80% of hands by limping or raising, okay? Let's go over here. We can actually select if we could only shove or fold. 10 big blinds in the small blind. You see here you get to play 72% of hands. So by playing the optimal strategy, you get to play 8% more hands profitably. Would you rather play 8% of hands more profitably? Like, of course you would. What if we're on the button? On the button, you see, we still have a min raise strategy. All these hands in light red are min raising. A full 5% of hands. If you use a shove or fold strategy, let's go over here, say we're on the button. You get to jam 44% of hands. This way we get to play 42% of hands. Oh, I'm sorry, what is this? 38% of hands, so a little bit tighter. Why is that tighter? Am I reading something wrong? Maybe reading something wrong. Must be reading something wrong because it's the same range. Anyway, as you can see, min raising is part of the game. You want, oh, this was solved. I'll tell you what it is. This was solved using Munker solvers. It gives you better ranges. That's what it is. Others were solved using Hold'em Resources Calculator, which is not quite as accurate. Anyway, 10 big blinds, you can see that from the early positions, you do want to be jamming or folding, but not from the later positions. Like right here, when you see it's only a tiny percentage of hands, that's probably not worth it. 12 big blinds, though, and more, you definitely want to be using min-raising strategies. If you're shoving or folding 12 big blinds deep, you are lighting your money on fire. And I don't want you to light your money on fire. Please don't light your money on fire. What's push versus call strategy when you're short? Oh my goodness. Come on, everybody. This is literally here on this site. Go sign up to pokercoaching.com/Halloween. I'll show it to you real quick. Let's say we have 10 big blinds. We are in the big blind actions versus a min raise from the opponent on the, I don't know, hijack seat. You see here, you're supposed to call a ton and jam very rarely, right? Got to do a lot of calling. You're going to realize your equity very well in this scenario. Against button, same story, calling a lot, right? Against under the gun, still calling a lot, okay? It's very, very, very important to learn to play fundamentally sound poker. And if you're just using, understand, we're playing no limit hold'em, not all in or fold hold'em, okay? If you try to play all in or fold hold'em when your opponents are playing no limit hold'em, well, you're going to get crushed. And I don't want you to get crushed, okay? Anyway, all these charts are available on the site. I'll show you where they are one more time. They're just right there in the tools section. Navigate down to right here. Click on tools. They're right here, GTO preflop charts. If you want to download charts, by the way, we have a selection of downloadable charts. We have 6-handed charts, 100 big blind exploitative charts for cash games, 4-handed GTO charts. We have implementable charts for the shallower stacks. We're actually going to be adding heads up charts here very soon. They're available somewhere. I'll need to make a note. Heads up charts on site. We need to get those on the site ASAP. So anyway, check out all that. Like I said, we have the challenges. As you see, we have all of these challenges available for Poker Coaching Premium members. The homework, as you can see, all the homework we've done in the past. Let's take a look at November's homework real quick. In a 1-2 cash game, 100 big blinds deep, a weak passive player raises to $10 from the cutoff, and a loose player calls on the button. We're in the small blind. What is our strategy? What does that mean? What's our hand? Your hand doesn't matter. You need to tell me what you're going to do with your entire range. Which hands are we calling? Which hands are we re-raising? Which hands are we folding? Okay, let's suppose we raise to 45 bucks. Only the button calls. Flop comes, Jack 5-2. What is our strategy? Which hands are you betting? Which hands are you checking? And you need to break them down into premium made hands, draws, marginal made hands, and junk so that we can confirm your range is reasonably balanced. Or if you're trying to be exploitive, tell me, and tell me why, right? Next, suppose you bet 35 bucks, your opponent calls, turns to 6. What is our strategy? So that implies we bet the flop. So every hand you didn't bet on the flop is no longer in your range, right? We have a range analyzer that will help you keep track of this. Suppose you check, opponent checks back, river's a queen. What is our strategy? And then what we have here is, let's take a look at like October, right? If I click on October, you can go over here and download the video where I go through my answer. I know you can't see this is off the screen. But anyway, I go through here and I show you how I'm playing my strategy. And all the students who participate go through and do this as well. They go through, they analyze their scenario. Why can't I get this on the screen? And anyway, they go through this and they go through the entire hand, explaining how they play their strategy. They ensure they're balanced with the proper ratios down here. And doing that over and over and over again is going to make you very good at poker. For cash games, let's say you have position against the maniac at the table. Should you be calling with any 2 cards? No. You want to play better cards than your opponents, not the same cards as your opponents. All right, that's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, check out pokercoaching.com/Halloween. If you enjoyed this video, click like, click subscribe. We have, literally everything you need to get good at poker at pokercoaching.com. We're giving it to you on sale, $2 a day for literally everything we have available at Poker Coaching Premium. It's very hard to narrow it down to one hand. Oh, Pumbaa, you're not trying to narrow your range to one hand. That's not the goal. You're trying to say how you would play your range. If your range gets narrowed down to one hand, you screwed up. If you can put your opponent on one hand, or if you have put yourself on one hand, you have messed up in the hand. Because then, if your opponent knows what you have, you're very easy to play against, right? You want to be difficult to play against. So anyway, check it out, pokercoaching.com/Halloween. I appreciate all of you being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, click like, click subscribe. I would appreciate it. Oh, and we have webinars coming up. I forgot. So if you go sign up right now, pokercoaching.com/Halloween, or if you're a Poker Coaching member, 4 p.m. for tournament players, Faraz Jaka is going to be streaming his session. He's going to be playing tournaments for the next 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever he does. And you can get in there, ask him whatever questions you want. He'll be there grinding it out. The other day, he final tabled a tournament, actually. That was a lot of fun to watch. For cash game players at 5 p.m., James Romero, one of the best thinkers in all of poker and one of the best players, he's going to be reviewing a lot of the very, very high stakes hands from GG Poker. They've been playing like 1,000, 2,000 there, so he's going to be going there and analyzing, seeing what he can learn. And then at 7 p.m., we have another webinar from Evan Jarvis, Gripsed. So if you're a Poker Coaching member, check it out. You have a lot to study today. I'll be there. Good luck in your games. Have a great, great time. If you can beat 5-5 for 10 big blinds per hour and you're properly bankrolled, should you move up to 5-10? Yeah, probably. Online poker is odd. Yes, sometimes things happen. There's a lot of variance in the game. Enjoy the experience. That's going to be it for today. I hope you have a great, great day. Enjoy your time. Make the most of your experience. I know a lot of you right now are stuck at home due to the virus. And if that's the case, don't squander your opportunities. If you would normally commute an hour each day, spend that time learning something. It doesn't have to be poker. Learn another language. Learn another skill to better yourself, right? A lot of people are spending this time learning poker. And I mean, I know I am. I've gotten substantially better over the last few months. And I want that for you too. It's not too late. So check it out, pokercoaching.com/Halloween. Thanks for being here. Good luck in your games. Check out pokercoaching.com/Halloween.